The one thing I want to make sure that people understand, stepmom specifically, is you can't be resentful and in control of your life at the same time. If you're sitting in a place of resentment, feeling triggered every time the money goes out to her every single month, spending time thinking about what you've lost, what's going out of your finances, how that's impacting what you can do, you're in a space of feeling like a victim. And hey, I get it. It's unfair. And I'm not saying that you can't have these feelings. I totally get it. I have been there as well. But it's just a place where you just don't want to pack up and stay. Hey, it's Jamie Scrimger. When I became a stepmom, I quickly realized that while moms are encouraged to keep it real, there's a big double standard when it comes to stepmoms. So I decided to start the conversation myself. Thriving as a stepmom doesn't just come from conversations about being a stepmom, though. Here, we dive into marriage, relationships, personal growth, and more. My mission? Inspire you to live a kick-ass life while bringing you along as I create my own. This is the KICK-ASS Stepmom podcast. Alrighty, guys, welcome to the KICK-ASS Stepmom podcast. So the title of this week's episode is Child Support Resentment, Money Mindset, and the Prostitute Who Raised Her Rates. And so that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about all things money mindset, specifically inspired by a lot of the stepmoms who come into my inbox and who are feeling resentful and overwhelmed and angry about the impact that the amount of money that's leaving their household and being paid in child support is just having on their personal finances. So we're going to dive into that because here's the thing. I really want you to understand by the end of this episode what that resentment is actually doing to you and your financial future. I'm also going to share a little behind the scenes of my life and my experience with money mindset over the years. And I understand, you could be watching me right now and I am speaking about money from a place of privilege at this point. We are very comfortable in our life. My husband has built up a successful business. I have a successful business, but it wasn't always like this. So there was a time in my life where my family went bankrupt. There was a time in my life where I had zero financial support and literally like $12 in the bank account after I paid for my student loans, my rent, my car, all of the things. I grew up in a family that, we were really well off for a while, and then everything just went down the tank. And I have memories of going through pockets of coats with my mom trying to find change in order for us to buy bread. So what I mean is it wasn't always like this. I'm not saying it was some desperate situation, but, the thing that has always been so, I think, consistent for me is my money mindset. It's definitely something that I've worked on over the years. But I have always had this mentality that I will figure everything out. And even my university roommate, who I'm still really good friends with now, said, you always figured everything out. And so I always had the mentality that if I needed to, I could make more money. If I wanted it, I could have it. And that has really done me well. And whether that led me to working the night shift at Tim Hortons, running the drive-through there to make more money when I was really struggling during university, or, working for professors as a TA for my classes, I always knew that if I needed to go make more money, I could make more money. And I'm going to share a little bit about that attitude in this episode. Let's be honest. When life is loud, your bedroom needs to feel like a retreat, not an extension of the chaos. There's something about climbing into really good sheets, putting on high-quality pajamas that just shifts your energy immediately. Insert Cozy Earth. I am beyond obsessed with their bamboo PJ sets and their duvet cover and sheet sets also made from viscose from bamboo. Cozy Earth uses premium viscose from bamboo that is so soft, breathable, and temperature regulating. So you and your partner are not fighting over the thermostat at 3 a.m. You actually rest. Their loungewear and their pajamas feel put together without sacrificing comfort. And the bedding, it feels like this quiet exhale at the end of the day. And they back it with a 100-night sleep trial and money-back guarantee, so there's zero risk in upgrading. If you want to show up as the best version of yourself in your marriage, your parenting, your life, it starts with how well you sleep. Go to CozyEarth.com and use the code CozyJamie for 20% off. That's www.cozyearth.com and use the code CozyJamie for 20% off. Upgrade your sheets, upgrade your sleep, upgrade your energy. I talk a lot about the things that help me stay grounded and feeling like myself. And one of the daily habits that I rarely miss is drinking Element, my daily electrolyte drink. So here's the deal. Staying hydrated isn't just about drinking water. You also need electrolytes and the right amount of salt to actually feel your best, which for me is where Element comes in. Element is an electrolyte drink mix that has everything you need and nothing that you don't. So each packet has 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, no sugar, no gluten, no BS ingredients. I drink it the first thing in the morning, before or during a workout, when I'm flying and traveling, if I'm having a few cocktails, and honestly, just any time I need something in my water. And the difference? Better energy, no brain fog, fewer headaches, and just overall feeling sharper. I rarely go a day without, and when I do, I notice it. If you want to give it a try, head to www.drinkelement.com/KICK-ASS Stepmom. And when you order through that link, you're going to get a free sample pack with 8 flavors so that you can test them out and find your favorite. That's www.drinklmnt.com/KICK-ASS Stepmom. And you're going to get a sample pack with all 8 flavors so you can test out and figure out your fave. I personally love the lemonade salt and watermelon, and Darren is a huge fan of the orange and the lime. Head to www.drinkelement.com/KICK-ASS Stepmom to get a free sample pack with your purchase. This offer is only available through this link. So one thing that really comes up for a lot of people when it comes to money and the mindset around it, and it's something I was actually talking to one of my coaching clients about a couple weeks ago. So I do both stepmom coaching and I also do business mentorship. And so this stepmom is actually really interesting because we do both. So some calls we're, walking through situations that come up in our step family life and how, we talk about this a lot, how that bleeds into other areas of your life and, impacts your ability to be successful in business and friendships and all of the things. And then also we are diving into her business and creating, systems and mindset shifts and working on her copy and, creating courses so that she can create some more abundance and some more financial freedom in her life as well. So we were having this conversation about money, and she grew up with the mentality or with the messaging from her family that money is bad. People who are rich are bad. Money doesn't buy happiness. Money is just like, it's a negative thing. And so we've really had to dive into that story because we all really do have stories about money, and it comes from our family, right? So whether it's there's never enough money or that's too expensive, we can't afford that, rich people are selfish and bad, like whatever the story is, it impacts the way that we deal with money in our everyday life now. And so I really challenged her on that belief because her belief was that, raising your rates or asking for what you're worth or making a lot of money is seen as a bad thing, and it's not. And here's the thing. There are really great people in the world who have a lot of money and do a lot of great things. There are really bad people in the world who have a lot of money and do bad things. And there are poor people who do great things. And then there are people who have, am I messing all this up? But I think you get what I'm saying. Like money doesn't mean you're good or bad, right? It's just the money is how you do what you need to do. And so just really understanding that there are so many people with money, with, a great attitude, with a great mindset who are helping so many people. And basically, what money allows you to do is to show up as the person that you are. So it's not going to change things, and it doesn't really need to be seen as a bad thing. So I know there's so many people who kind of have that mentality like, oh, talking about money is cringy or wanting more money is selfish. And I really want to debunk that storyline because it's just not true. And the truth is, when you have this lack mindset around money, not only does it impact your ability to bring more money into your life, it also it's your attitude in general that it impacts, right? And so I want you to think about how you think about money. Do you think about how expensive things are, about how there's never enough, you don't have enough money to do the things you want to do, or, oh my gosh, I would never spend that much money on that? Like that lack mindset that you have, it really impacts the way that you see things and then the way you see the world. So I truly believe that if you are constantly focusing on that lack mindset, you're not going to be calling in great opportunities. You're not going to be looking for more ways to make money. You're not going to be looking for opportunities to improve your life if you're always in that lack mindset. It's very similar to what I talk about with stepmoms. Like, we see what we're looking for. So if you've decided that your stepkids are annoying you, or that they're going to annoy you, or it's going to be a bad weekend, like, we've talked about this before, you're pre-annoyed. Like, you're literally walking around your house looking for things, confirming information for the stories that you're telling yourselves, right? So again, you say, my stepkid, is disrespectful, or, he doesn't like me. And if he maybe had a long day at school and he's not really talkative in the kitchen at night, and he kind of grunts and's like, hey, and then like walks upstairs into his room, you're like, see, he's rude, he's disrespectful, when really maybe that's not the situation, but it really impacts the way that we perceive all things in our life. And I believe that money is the same. So when it comes to money, I really do encourage people, and I know this may sound like woo-woo, but really be careful about what you're saying. Really be careful about the language that you're using. So instead of saying things like, that's too expensive, I can't afford that right now, say things like, yeah, that's not a priority for me right now. That's not something that I'm focusing on right now. See the difference in the energy around that language. At the very beginning of doing this podcast, which I'm actually thinking of this now, I don't even know how the heck I got her on my podcast, but I interviewed Jen Sincero. So she is a New York Times bestselling author, I believe, and she wrote books on, how to be a badass. Like, that was the series. And she did How to Be a Badass at Making Money. It was one of her books. And so something that I really resonated with me in her interview, because we were talking about, like, does money buy happiness? Right? Because people always say money doesn't buy happiness. Maybe people who have more money are actually more miserable. Like, there's tons of storylines around this. And she said, well, I have been rich and happy, and I have been poor and happy. And she's like, I much prefer to be rich and happy. Meaning, money doesn't buy happiness, but it helps. So it can help you invest in the dream vacation. It can help you contract out things. It can help you hire help around your house. It can help you invest in therapy. It helps you get out of situations that otherwise could be really, really stressful. So, for example, you're driving down the road and you bust a tire and you're on the side of the road. If you don't have any money to get a tow truck, that's a really bad day, because you're not going to get to work. You're not going to be able to do the things that you need to do that day. But if you can just call a tow truck, rent a car, you have the insurance, whatever, you see how money can get you out of situations that otherwise would be really stressful. So money really is the difference between something that could be just an annoyance and something that can ruin your entire day. And just going back to the one thing where I was saying about how your language around money is really important. So think about this. Instead of saying, oh my God, this is how much this cost me. Like, cost feels negative. Cost feels lack. Think about how much did I get for this? Like, what experience did I get for this? So often, I don't know if you've noticed, going out for dinner these days is freaking expensive. Like, everything is just jacked up. Wine is expensive. Like, all of these things. Like, it is an investment to go out for dinner. But think about the difference if you say you're going out to dinner and all you're doing is thinking about how much this cost you. You're not thinking about what you got, the experience, the vibe, the alone time with your partner, the night out. Like, you're investing in the experience, not specifically just how much things cost. And I'm not sure if you can totally understand what I'm saying there, but the language around it really matters. It really is like an energetic exchange when you are paying money for something. Like, you are getting something in return, an experience, a service, something that you need. And I just want to take that negative connotation away from it, because there's nothing bad about money, right? Money is not evil. Money is not bad. Money is good. Money is great. Another thing that money can be really useful for is buying back your time. Okay. And again, I'm going to use, say, like a cleaning lady for this instance. So sometimes people will say, I'm not spending money on that. Like, I can do that myself. Okay, well, we only have so much time. And I get that. If you're great at cleaning, you have the time, you enjoy it, all of the things, that's amazing. However, say you're an entrepreneur, for instance, or say you are paid hourly. So the time you spend cleaning is taking away from the time you could spend maybe building your business. Or if you're super busy and you don't have a lot of extra time, it's buying back time that you have to spend time with your family, to even get that mental reset at the beginning of the week. So instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, this is how much it costs me to have someone maybe mop my floors or like help me with my laundry, think about what you're getting back. Freedom, reset, the time with your kids, more time to work and work on your goals, like all of those things. And so something that Darren, and I've talked about this on the podcast in the past, has really taught me is the value of investing in help in order to help you move forward. And so when we first got together, I didn't understand. He had someone cutting his lawn, and which is our lawn now. And I always thought that was so weird. I'm like, why can't you just cut your own lawn? And he made me look at his hourly rate versus the hourly rate of having someone cut the lawn, what it would cost him, maybe, the time he has for it, what that would be taking away from. And so for him, investing in someone to cut the lawn is a really good move, right? And so that would help him get closer to what he really wants for his life. So it was a good investment. Again, money allowing you to buy back your time. Now, one thing I do talk a lot about, and I know part of you guys are listening and you're like, oh my God, Jamie, I don't have the money to invest in these things. I'm broke because of child support. Can you please tackle that right now? And I definitely will. But first, I want to talk about the power of charging what you're worth. And again, going back to that coaching client, she really struggled with that because she was like, I know what I'm worth. I know the transformation I give people. I know all of that, but I just feel icky doing that. It's just the way she felt about money. And so I'm going to tell you a story. We went to New Orleans for a conference with Darren. And by the way, maybe I need to go back and give it another try, but I really didn't love going to New Orleans. And we were there during Mardi Gras, so it was definitely a busy time. But I remember talking to my girlfriend, we were packing. I was telling her I was going to bring my white jeans, and she's like, don't bring white jeans to New Orleans. I was like, really? What do you mean? She's like, it's just kind of dirty. And I didn't fully understand what she was saying until I got there and went down Bourbon Street. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is an experience. So tell me if that lands with you guys. I know, total sidebar. But so we go to Bourbon Street, and Darren and I, we were out. We had drinks that night. We were out with some friends. We're walking down the street. And this woman comes up to Darren, and she offers him a blowjob. She offers him a blowjob. She's like, I'll give you a blowjob for $20. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. And I just look at her, and I don't think I had the reaction that she thought I was going to have to that. And I said, $20 for a blowjob? And she looked at me and was like, yeah. I said, oh my gosh, you need to raise your rates. You need to know your worth. And so we had this big pep talk about how she, if you're going to be giving someone a blowjob, at least you need to charge them, I don't know, $50 or something. And we were joking around, but I was actually very serious. It's very important to know your worth. And this is no way me condoning prostitution or whatever. I can just see the haters coming at me here. But the point is, I was like, raise your rates, know your worth. And so then she looked at Darren and was like, okay, $50 for a blowjob? I'm like, no, you're not giving him a blowjob. But I was just saying, I think you should raise your rates. And so we went on with our day. And so Darren always laughs at me. He's like, you're always telling people to know their worth and to raise their rates, because there's nothing that bothers me more than seeing someone not charge what they're worth. Because again, it's an energetic exchange, right? It's not a bad thing to charge what you're worth for what the investment is. And so I'll give you another example. The other day, we were leaving to go to Toronto to the airport. Darren had a crazy busy day. I had a crazy busy day, and my freaking car engine light comes on, and we needed to drive the car to Toronto. It's like, oh my gosh. And so I was really stressed out about it. I'm like, the last thing we need is not be able to make it to our flight because the car breaks down or whatever. And so I called around the corner to a local body shop that is there. And the guys are great there. We've gone to them for years. And I, asked him, I was like, is there any way you can squeeze me in? And we go back and forth for a while about what's going on. So we have a couple phone calls. I go in, I bring my car, they squeeze me in. They get me all fixed up and it's totally fine. And it only probably took them, 20 minutes, but then also the time it took to talk to me on the phone, et cetera. And so I go in to pay and he says, I don't even know what I can charge you on this. Like we didn't really do much. He's like, I don't know, $12 for the oil? Or I said, come on. I said, you need to charge me more than that. He's like, no, you guys are great to us. And, you've been to us before. Like it didn't take that long. And I said, well, being great to someone doesn't pay their bills. Like you're not a volunteer. You took time out of your day to coordinate and do this for me, plus the convenience. And so I made him charge me a little bit more. And people would think that's so crazy. Like, why would you ask to pay more? Because I know what that was worth. He still didn't he didn't, rake me over the coals or anything. But, I felt comfortable with what I ended up paying him. And I think that's important, right? Like you can charge what you're worth. Now, I'm going to skip through because I do have a lot of other things that I want to talk about. But I know there's people who are listening to this episode and they're like, okay, I need to talk about the child support piece. And so here's the thing. What do you do if child support makes you bitter? That was a question that came in. What do you do if you're feeling resentful about the amount of child support that is going out? And I get it. It sucks. This system, the child support system, can be so unfair, especially if you're in a situation where maybe child support isn't used the way that you feel like it should be used, or it's an unfair calculation, or maybe you and your husband are working so hard and, she gets to stay home because of spousal support and child support, whatever the situation is. And I'm just going to go on record. I don't have an issue with spousal support. I think the system is in place for a reason, but I do know there's situations where it can cause a lot of resentment for people. The one thing I want to make sure that people understand, and stepmom specifically, is you can't be resentful and in control of your life at the same time, right? So you can't be resentful and in control. And so what I mean by that is if you're sitting in a place of resentment, feeling triggered every time the money goes out to her every single month, spending time thinking about what you've lost, what's going out of your finances, how that's impacting what you can do, and, maybe you want to invest in something, like whatever the situation is, you're in a space of feeling like a victim. And hey, I get it. It's unfair. And I'm not saying that you can't have these feelings. I'm not saying that you can't every once in a while be like, you know what? I think this is bullshit. She's over there not working. We're working our tails off over here and she's just getting this money. And I can't do what I want to do. I totally get it. I have been there as well. But it's just a place where you just don't want to pack up and stay. Because when you're in that resentful space, you're in that victim mentality, you're not able to be strategic about how do you move forward and still build this life that you want, minimize the impact that maybe this agreement has on you, be strategic, like strategize, all of that. You're not doing that when you're in a victim mentality. So it's really important to understand, like, child support is a legal agreement, but resentment is a choice. And so when I was talking to Darren about this, I'm like, how do I navigate this conversation on the podcast? He said to me, well, for me, what really helped, and sidebar, Darren would get triggered by this many, many times as well. What worked for me is I looked at it as a tax. It was just an extra tax that I had to pay. And so I know there's people who are saying, okay, well, why would I go out and make more money? Why would I go out and, focus on furthering my career if I'm just going to have to pay more child support? And hey, okay, I get it. When you make more money, you're going to have to pay more child support. Specifically, our child support is reevaluated or was reevaluated every single year based on everyone's T4s or their notice of assessment, right? So you make more, you pay more. It all goes into a calculation and the equation is popped out. And so, yes, it's very frustrating when you're so excited to make more money and then you end up paying more in child support, but you're still making more money, right? You're still growing, and child support doesn't last forever. And so I do think it's not a great mindset to say, I'm not going to go make more money because then I'm going to have to pay more money, because you still get money in your pocket. Right? It's very similar to, in Canada, people will say, maybe it's the same in the States, I don't know the tax system, but people will say, well, I don't want to make more money because I don't want it to go into a new tax bracket. That's silly. You're still going to make more money when you go into a new tax bracket. Like, it kind of works itself out, but you want to grow. You want to continue to work towards your goals. And It's a very lack mindset mentality to be focused on, oh, I'm not going to make more money because then I'm going to have to pay more money, right? You're not thinking about what you get. You're thinking about what you're giving. If you've been around here for a while, you know that a huge focus of mine is calming my nervous system and bringing more peace and calm into our fast-paced life. Because step-family stress doesn't just live in the moment, it lives in your body. If you know, you know. That brace feeling before a pickup, the tight chest after a text exchange, when you're conditioned to be living in a state of anticipating what's next, you can feel that in your body. And so one of the tools that I have been using is the infrared PEMF mat from Bon Charge. Bon Charge is a wellness company focused on beauty, recovery, sleep, and overall well-being. But what pulled me in was their PEMF mat. PEMF stands for Pulsed Electromagnetic Field. It sends magnetic energy into the body that works with your body's natural magnetic field to support recovery, relaxation, and better sleep. It taps into the electromagnetic wavelengths that are found in nature. And the idea is simple: helps your body remember what calm feels like. Their infrared PEMF Mat Max combines those bioactive wavelengths with red and near-infrared light. It's low EMF, flicker-free, and you can literally unfold this mat into your living room, do yoga, stretch, meditate, read a book, or just lie there and let your body chill. I often put on my red light panel, also from Bon Charge, and do some stretching on the mat while I'm listening to a meditation. It is all about the habit stacking. For me, it's less about performance and more about regulation. Recover faster, sleep better, focus more clearly, and show up grounded instead of reactive. And if you are building a little home recovery ritual, they also have infrared sauna blankets, red light therapy panels, blue light glasses, and more, all designed to help you increase well-being, recovery, and sleep without adding more chaos to your routine. If you want to check it out, you can use my code SCRIM for 15% off at www.boncharge.com. This is an affiliate link that helps support the KICK-ASS Stepmom podcast, so go to www.boncharge.com and use the code SCRIM for 15% off. Lately, I've been really diving into the back end of my business, the platforms I use for my website and email lists and contracts, all of that. And I've realized that I want to spend way less time managing tech and more time coaching, podcasting, connecting with you. Admin is not really my thing. So I have been moving more and more over to Kajabi. Kajabi is an all-in-one platform for creators. Your website, your email marketing, your landing pages, your automations, payments, courses, community, all in one place. And they don't take a percentage of your profit. I have literally built a 7-figure business with multiple streams of income using Kajabi as the backbone. It runs my programs, my email list, my digital products, everything. And you can even create your own custom app inside Kajabi, which, by the way, have you downloaded my app yet? When your back end is streamlined, you have more capacity to actually create and lead. And if you've been thinking about turning your expertise into income, this is your sign. Kajabi is your answer. You can get a 30-day free trial using my link at www.jamiescrimger.com/Kajabi. That is www.jamiescrimger.com/Kajabi for 30 days free. Build your business on a platform that can actually grow with you. www.jamiescrimger.com/Kajabi, Kajabi, for 30 days free. So there's so many common stories, and I wrote them down here, that a lot of stepmoms have when it comes to child support. So we're funding her lifestyle. She doesn't use it properly. We work hard and she benefits. It's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. All of it can be true. All of it is very understandable. But none of that is creating peace in your life. None of that is allowing you to be in control of your own life. That mentality is actually doing more damage than you're really giving it credit for. So the cost of staying in this place of resentment is that it's leaking into your marriage, right? It leaks into your marriage in a huge way. It shifts your tone when money comes up because it, again, puts you back into that lack mindset. And it really affects how united you feel with your partner, because there's so many women who are stepmoms who feel resentful for the amount of child support that goes out, which in turn makes them resentful of their partner's past. And if you didn't marry her, you wouldn't have to pay this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which is also all true. But your partner is the person that they are today because of that marriage. And so there's a reason why maybe you guys didn't get together earlier on in life, right? And so just being in that space, it's just not productive. And it just creates this scarcity in your home, right? There's never enough. And you don't want to be in that mindset because it keeps you focused on what's leaving instead of what you're building. And so you can't really build that financial confidence if you're focusing on that. And I know you might be listening to this like, shut up, Jamie. That it literally feels so fluffy. It's fluffy, but it's true. So what I want you to do is I want you to reframe what this payment means to you. Okay? And hear me out. So the money is going to leave either way. I want you to really reframe the way that you're looking at it. It's the energy that you're giving to it. And so it's going to leave either way. But are you going to send your piece with it or are you going to focus on building and strategizing? So I want you to stop personalizing this payment, okay? And it feels very personal, but you have to stop. This is going to be going out every single month until your stepchildren turn 18 or whatever your situation is. So I want you to really stop personalizing the child support payment, okay? And you have to separate fairness from function, okay? Fairness from function. The function is that this is going, you're making this payment. This is what you have to do. Does it feel fair? No. But when, again, you pack up and stay there, you're not in a space where you can focus on strategizing and building and creating the life that you want to do. So instead, I recommend you and your partner sitting down and looking down at your finances. Okay, this is a payment that we have to pay, similar to our phone bill, similar to our mortgage. This is a payment that has to go out. Do we like it? No. Do we think it's bullshit? Totally. Do we think that the way she's spending her child support is aligned with what we want? Probably not, but it doesn't really matter, right? Like you can't control that. The payment is going out either way. So look at your finances and look at your goals. What do you guys want to work towards, right? What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? And start focusing on that. What do you need to do in your current situation to get you closer to that goal? When you put your energy towards that, you're actually acting from this place of control, right? Like you are back in control of your life. And honestly, we all have bullshit to deal with in our lives. There's people who have, sickness, people who have issues with their family members. There's people who have, issues with their children or whatever. Like this is yours. Right. And when you look at it like that, like everyone has their stuff, this is ours. It normalizes the experience and it helps you feel like you can get back into control. So I want you to also shift from thinking like of it as a subtraction, like this is taking away, and instead strategize how you're going to create the life that you really want. And I know, again, that feels so corny, but it's true. So one thing I want you to really do is focus on your emotional stability when that payment goes out every month. So typically the child support payment goes out, you think it's bullshit, there's comments about it, there's conversations about it, there's like internal dialogue about it. It sparks something in you. We're not doing that anymore, okay? So stop giving it so much value and so much attention, even if it puts you at negative $5 in your bank account, even if it's put you into overdraft. Okay, even if it's prevented you from doing the project that you've been working towards doing because now you can't afford it, I want you to get out of that mindset because mindset really does make a huge difference. So instead of focusing on that, it's like, okay, what are we going to do? What is our next step? How do we make more money? How do we build? What does that look like? Because the hard truth is, if you are constantly triggered about child support, it's actually not about the number. It's about what that represents in you or represents for you. So what does that number represent? Does it represent the life that they had before you? Does it represent never feeling like you are the priority? Does it represent insecurities around, not being the first? Like what is coming up for you there? Because it's not only about the number. Okay. And so that's where a lot of stepmoms kind of bite back at me. They're like, it's not all about the personal growth. It's not all about owning your story. Well, when you really do dive in and understand what's going on for you there and what's actually happening for you, it really does help. And some people are not in the place to see that, and that's totally fine. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. So when it comes to the resentment piece, I do want to share a story. And we've talked about this before on the podcast, but there was a time where I was planning this laundry room renovation. Does anyone remember what my laundry room used to look like before? So I moved into the house that Darren lived in during his first marriage, and there was some gnarly paint colors happening here. And so our laundry room was like bright yellow. It was terrible. And I really wanted to do this laundry room renovation. I planned the renovation. I worked with my girlfriend, Abby, who's an amazing designer, on like what this would look like. We were about to do the laundry room renovation. And then all of a sudden we get served with we get a lawyer's letter sent to us. And now we're going to have legal bills. We have to, spend more money. More money is going to go out to her. Like, it was this whole thing. And yes, immediately my reaction is, oh my gosh, I am so pissed. I'm so resentful. Like, why does our hard-earned money have to go there? This is unfair. Like, the whole thing. Like, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. I was in this place of resentment. But then I made the commitment I wasn't going to hang out there. You move forward. And that's where the mindset shift comes in. I'm not telling you not to be human, right? It's natural to have those reactions, but then what? Right? And so what I did was, no, I'm going to do this laundry room renovation. Here's what I got to do. Here's what I got to make. Here's what I've got to earn. What's my plan to make it happen? Right? So my energy instead went from focusing on all of the things I can't control to what am I going to do to still get what I want? What am I going to do to work towards that? And that's where I would love to see that energy shift for everyone who's feeling that resentment right now. And the thing is, you're not going to be paying child support forever, right? This will end. So when you keep building the type of life that you want to create, when you keep growing your career, when you keep being strategic about, where you're investing, what's getting your time, what's getting your money, you're going to have this beautiful life afterwards. And then all of a sudden the payment's going to be over. And you're like, oh my gosh. My dad said to me once, and he said, this will go quick. It won't feel quick when you're in it, but all of a sudden it will be over. And we feel like that now. I couldn't even imagine what it would look like to not have that child support payment go out on the 15th of every month. And it doesn't go out anymore. Life moves fast, but when you're stuck in that resentment space, that victim mentality and not being fully in control of your life, I think it probably goes slower and is not as enjoyable. So again, I just want to go back to that growth mindset piece as we're kind of wrapping up this episode. I really want you to be very, very careful with your language. And so instead of saying things like, I can't afford that, a growth mindset perspective, like, how can I get that? How can I build that? Having those forward-focusing conversations with your partner, like, what are we building here? Like, what are we doing in our life together? And I've had so many coaching clients who come to me resentful about everything that's going on with the ex. And then once we switch that mindset, they start focusing on building their careers, launching their businesses, decorating their house, working on the project, taking the course, doing the inner work on themselves. All of a sudden, the energy that they're spending being resentful about everything is spent, again, being forward-focusing and focusing on the type of life that they want to create. Because here's the deal. If you work hard, if you are strategic with what gets your time, if you really believe it, you can go make more money, right? There's always more money to be made, but you don't want to be someone who sits in this, space where you'll often hear people say like, oh, it must be nice for them. It must be nice to afford that, or it must, whatever the storyline is, like, that's not possible for us. You have to ask yourself, are you willing to do what it takes to get that, to work that hard to get to that place? And, my cousin-in-law, we were having a conversation about boundaries and work and all of that a year or so ago. And he said to me, boundaries are great if you're okay with a certain salary. And what he means by that is sometimes you've got to work past 5. Sometimes you've got to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do a few hours of work before anyone else is even up. Like, there is definitely a grind that happens to create the type of life that I'm sure that you're really wanting to live, or to bring in the type of money that you really want. There's like a shift online right now where people are talking a lot about boundaries and not working past 5 and having only working a few hours a day and making millions doing whatever it is. And it's like, no, you got to work, right? The people who are successful have a strong work ethic. They have a positive mindset. They have a growth mindset, and they're always strategizing, and they're not letting things like child support or resentment or things they can't control hijack their life. And so again, it's not about not being human. We all have those WTF moments. We all have those moments where we're like, this is not fair. Like, I cried over that laundry room, guys. Like, I bawled my eyes out. I was so pissed off. I think Darren and I kind of had a heated discussion about it. Like, I was mad. But then I was like, I'm not going to hang out here. What am I going to do? And now my laundry room is beautiful, right? Because I decided I was going to do what I was going to do or whatever I could do to make that happen. So that is the shift. That is the money mindset. So yeah, hopefully all of that makes sense. Hopefully it lands. I know it's very hard. It's not going to last forever. Child support is very important for so many reasons, but I've always said that the people who need child support the most don't get enough, and those who don't need it get too much. And I will go to my grave believing in that. Alrighty, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you so much. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and chat soon. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you could share it with someone in your life who you think could benefit from it. And if you haven't already left a rating and a review on iTunes, it really is the best way to support the show. And if you're craving more real talk and coaching and community, be sure to check out my membership, the Kick-Ass Stepmom community. Head to www.kickassstepmom.com to learn more.